Hey AP students, happy snow day. It is Thursday, December 12th, and you're probably sleeping right now, but you're going to get up in a little while and you're going to want to not do schoolwork. But it is kind of crunch time here, close to exams, and AP stops for nobody. So this is just a short little video that will help you. Again, we have an exam on the horizon. And I just want to make sure that in this little video, it's not going to be as long as last Friday because it's not a whole lesson, but there's just a few things that I discuss with you that get you ready for tomorrow. Because tomorrow I want to do what we did in a block day. I want to do it in a half a block. And by doing this video, we'll be able to do that, and then we can do some review tomorrow as well, or start to get ready for the exam. So I'm hoping that you'll watch this and then be able to maybe do some reading as well today, also to study for the exam. I did put some vocab for chapters 9 through 14 on Google Classroom, and those are all terms that you will want to know. Some of them have stars by them, and those are the things that we didn't talk about in class or even in a reading, but you'll need to know them. And here's where hopefully you get what I'm doing here. I've certainly set up this class with the idea, like I want to teach the big things, and I want to give you the framework that you need to do well in AP Government. And then the things we don't talk about that are required can kind of plug in. With minimal effort, you should be able to learn about things, maybe look up terms, and then say, I have the framework from maybe those first few units, or from policymaking cycle, or from models of contemporary democracy, where it's like, oh, now I can make sense of that. Now I'm doing quite well. And that's just how good learners do things too. It's just a good skill that you would have for college. Okay. But anyway, what we're going to do today is talk about the last chapter, which is chapter, I think, 14 in your group or in your book. You're going to have a reading on that today, and I'll talk about that in a minute. It is the bureaucracy. I believe that this is going to be backward on your video because I didn't change that setting, but you'll see it tomorrow in class. But the bureaucracy exists under the executive branch, okay? And I'm going to try to stick it up here, not very well, but I'll change it in a minute. But the bureaucracy is just the millions of government workers who work for our federal government. They issue passports. They're accountants who work for the CBO and the OMB. They're people in overseas positions at embassies. They work engineers who work on roads and bridges for the Federal Interstate Highway Commission. There's just tons of bureaucrats, is what we call them, and they work for the bureaucracy. It is so big that it really, some people call it the fourth branch of government. It exists under the president here. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just as a tie-in, you need to know that President Trump, being a bit of a small government, this is where he's conservative, not necessarily populist, but being a conservative, he likes smaller government, and he has appointed Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to try to clean up the bureaucracy, try to reduce some of the bigness of it. It'll be interesting to see what happens there as they kind of work into those positions. But we are going to talk about the bureaucracy now. Your reading, and it's pages 416 to 420, we talk about the top levels of that bureaucracy, the cabinet positions, okay, the people who work for the Department of Interior, the Department of Energy, the Department of Health and Human Services. And again, that's something we're not going to get into. It's kind of tedious, kind of like detail-oriented, but I'm giving you a few pages. It's mostly going to show up as multiple choice questions on your exam. And hopefully between Quizlets, the little reading you do today, and the framework I've provided, you should be able to get enough of those right. If you're asked 3 questions of that on the multiple choice section, you'll get 2, maybe you'll get 3, and then preserve that 4 or 5 for the exam. Obviously, if you love government for government's sake, you're going to live into it too, and make me very happy as a government teacher that you not only do well in this class, but you love the content as well. Okay? Now, the other thing that I want you to do then is you're going to read that 416 to 420 in your book to kind of have that introduction to bureaucracy. Tomorrow, we are going to look at policy and policy implementation that will happen there, and you're going to do a little project. That will help you more because those policies are going to be more important than understanding details about the bureaucracy. Okay. The other big thing that we're going to do, and it's up here on the screen, and it's the second half of the reading that I have for you today. It's something called an iron triangle. Okay. And iron triangles are the sixth hardest, there are 6 hard things to learn in AP government. Selective incorporation, federalism, the budget, campaign finance, and so on. But the last one is iron triangles. And here you see a graph of iron triangles, and that's the second part of your reading. It's 434 to 437. Okay, and what an iron triangle is you can, this is backwards again because I didn't hit the switch, but at one corner of it you have Congress, one corner of it you have the bureaucracy or the executive branch, and then one corner you have interest groups, okay? And so I'm going to visualize this for you a second and then let you read it. This is something that we will go over a little bit tomorrow. But an iron triangle is when an interest group, let's say a farming interest group here, says, hey, we need good farm policy, and we need to influence farm policy, and we're going to come over here and we're going to start, and we studied this already with lobbying and so on. We're going to work with Congress and the legislative branch. We're going to give money to Congress people. We're going to lobby for good laws. But then they also work with the bureaucracy, because the bureaucracy, the Department of Agriculture, also implements farming policy. So they say, hey, interest group will go and say, hey, can you give us farming policy that works for our farmers, okay? And so they start to work with both these branches. And then these branches also give back to the interest groups. They give the interest groups what they want, good farm policy for, let's say, for farmers. And then on top of it, then, Congress is the power of the purse. They then say, well, okay, to do this, we need to work with the bureaucracy. We need to give them money so that they can do what they want to do. And then the bureaucracy needs to say, well, we have to give something to the legislative branch as well. And so what ends up happening is kind of a triangle of influence. Okay, sometimes it's called a sub-government, and they all kind of influence each other to try to make good things happen. Okay, because remember, hyperpluralism, this idea that everything gets kind of knotted up when you have too many interest groups, an iron triangle tries to maybe break through that and say, hey, let's all work together to get good policy. And the bureaucrats don't want, it's not like they're terrible people, but they don't necessarily want, they just want their jobs sometimes. But when their jobs get better because they're helping other people, they then do it. The Congress people, obviously, they're not all bad either, but some of it is, well, if I have good incentives to help the bureaucracy, because then they help me get reelected, or they help me, look good to my constituents, I'm going to help them. And the interest groups obviously have incentives to try to help their people, and then they know that they need these people in the government to do it. So, and you're going to read about it today. We will talk about this one tomorrow because it is fairly complicated. But an iron triangle is where this is kind of happens in this kind of space between these three organizations. 434 to 437, you will read about it. So hopefully you have a good rest of the day. Maybe you do a little bit of looking through things for your exam as well. I will also release your multiple choice scores from the last test. There were 17 multiple choice questions. There were some that we didn't talk about much in class. I did not change those from wrong answers to right answers, but I did give you more points. Okay, so that ends up helping a lot of people. So anyway, but you'll see those, and we may go over that tomorrow. You may get the printed out FRQs that you answered as well. But I hope you have a great day in your snow day, and maybe do a little bit of work too. Talk to you later.